Hear ye, here comes the judge. It's the Yogi Judge, Judge Dawson. And I'm back with another podcast to empower your life and take you to the next level. See, we spend a lot of time investing in things that don't reap the real benefits. Sometimes getting a lot of money, that's not a great benefit. I mean, it makes life easier, it makes you happy. But in reality, the benefit that we really seek is peace of mind, peace in your relationships, peace in your everyday walk. Because understand this, money will not make you happy. Status will not make you happy. And titles will not make you happy. I don't care what people tell you, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about your money. It's not about your title or your status. It's about your inner peace. Inner peace is so important. In fact, in my business as a judge, what I see every day is so many people making mistakes because they don't have the basic inner peace to live an outer peaceful life. So instead of being able to deal with their controversies, their ups, their downs, and resolve them internally, they act out. Maybe that's been you. Maybe you act out at someone at the Popeyes chicken. I've had many cases with that. Maybe you go off on the lady at McDonald's. Maybe you've gotten mad because somebody was too close to you in a line, especially during the pandemic. Whatever it is, I submit to you that oftentimes if we establish our inner peace, the inner peace of mind will give you the ability to live a peaceful existence. What are the benefits of a peaceful existence? Well, one, you stay out of trouble, just general trouble. Two, you'll stay out of the court with me or some other judge. And three, your life will begin to look better. Because what's on the inside of you, the peace that's on the inside of you will show on the outside. In fact, it's a guarantee. It's a must. Whatever is growing on the inside of you must produce itself in some way. Now, I don't know if you believe in God or a higher being or what you worship, or maybe you don't worship at all. But we cannot deny the fact that seeds that are planted, yes, seeds that are planted grow. And when you plant a certain seed, a particular seed, it will turn into a certain or particular plant or outcome, right? I mean, that's just life. Now, we know that there are all types of hacks where you can, crossbreed seeds and dogs and all this stuff and create a brand new. And I'm not talking about that because if you think about it from a human perspective, there are hacks, right? Mental health is a hack. Being born with some deficit in capability or capacity, that is a hack, right? So we're not talking about the hacks, the things that happen that we have no control over, or there's some other a thing or social environment or tampering that changed the design of life. We're talking about the basic design of life, and the basic design of life submits that when you plant a seed, it will create a particular result. So what does that mean for you and I? It means that the seeds that we are planting will either cultivate a life of abundance for us, and whatever that means, or it will create a life of suffering. And we kind of know what suffering is. Like anything else, there are different levels to suffering. There's different levels to happiness. But generally speaking, we know what suffering is. So today I want to talk with you about the ways to avoid suffering. Ways to avoid suffering. And like I tell you all the time, I'm not going to hold you long. This is not going to be a long workshop or seminar. It's not a clubhouse environment. But this is an opportunity for you to get some nuggets that you can take with you. Something that you can use to maybe de-escalate a situation before it begins, or maybe you can use it to just improve and expand on your existence. So that's the goal of Here Comes the Judge podcast. And I'll give you a quick commercial right here. If you enjoy any of this information, don't hoard it. We have an obligation to share what we know. We have an obligation to give what we get. So subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone that you care about. Maybe it's a friend, a family member. Go to my website, judgedawson.com. There are tons of resources there to help you go to the next level, because that is my entire mission. For me, it's not about making $1 million. But who wouldn't want $1 million? For me, it's about leaving a legacy of tools of success based on real life situations. I've presided over real life situations as a judge. I've seen so many people destroy their lives in front of me. And guess what? I've done the same thing. I'm not perfect. I will never tell you that I haven't made mistakes, because I've made a ton of them. And getting back to our subject, I will never tell you that I haven't suffered. I've suffered in so many ways. Many of them have been self-imposed, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Because there is some suffering that you cannot control. Let's just keep it real. I don't want you to believe that there's any guru or any, self-improvement master that can tell you, or any yoga master that can tell you can avoid all suffering, because suffering is a part of life. But you have the ability to control the amount of suffering that you experience. And that's what I'm going to bring you today. So, suffering, let's talk about it. The first thing I want you to understand is this. You can have pain without suffering. And in fact, not only can you have pain, there will be pain in your life. You'll have pain when you lose a loved one. I lost my mom very early in my journey as a young man. She never got to see me go to law school. All she knew was that I was a knucklehead running around the city of East Cleveland, barely missing the unfortunate act of getting arrested from all the things that I was doing in the city. That's what she knew. I'm going to keep it 100% real with you. When she was passing away, probably in her mind, she was thinking, oh my God, what is Dawson going to do? What is my son going to do without me? Because this man is going down the wrong trail. So part of my mission was to change that narrative in honor of my mother. But I had pain when I lost my mother. You've had pain when you've lost people. I've had pain in relationships. Oh my gosh, you cannot control your relationships. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's like a flip of a coin. And that's what I've learned as being a judge for all these years. You just never know who you are getting with until you get with them. And then it's a flip of a coin. But again, in that situation, there's a way to control the suffering. But the bottom line is you cannot control the pain, because people are going to be people. And guess what? No matter how perfect he or she is, that person's a human being, which means they're flawed. That means they may cause you some pain. So you have pain in your relationships, pain because of the loss of someone. Maybe you have pain because you've lost your job. Pain because the pandemic has put pressure on you to the point where you can't even think about where you're going to get your next meal, or you don't know how you're going to dig out of the hole that life has put you in. There will be pain, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, there's the physical pain. And even there's an element of physical pain that we can at least adjust or control, but that's a little more difficult. It takes a lot of intense studying and even some intervention. Maybe you need some medication or something like that when it becomes physical. But the bottom line for our conversation today is that pain does not have to equate to suffering. So let's start with the physical pain. If you are in a situation where your body is aching, something happened to you, the first step is you need to go to the doctor. Some of us avoid getting help when we need it. I had a relative who had the old school mentality that they were not going to go to the doctor unless they were basically dying. And that person ended up dying because of something very minor that they could have survived had they had the mindset to get help when they needed it. So for all of you out there who are powering through that injury or powering through that mental health disparity, you get depressed and you think you don't need any help, stop it. Stop it. There's nothing wrong with going to get help when you need it. Because if you don't, you are going to suffer. And that is an area of life where you don't have to suffer to a very high extent or high level, right? Because there's an answer to it, or at least there's a group of answers that maybe you can work to help lower your suffering. So even in the realm of our physical lives and our physical abilities, you do not have to suffer, and pain does not have to equate to suffering. Let's talk about our jobs and our finances. That's a pretty difficult area because everyone wants to be rich. Everyone wants to be at least well off, right? Or on the lowest level, we at least want to be able to put a roof over our heads. And there are some situations where people are struggling in this world to even survive. I would submit to you that oftentimes that suffering is based on the lack of knowledge that person has. And that may be a controversial statement, but if you really think about it, we live in America. This country just gave out a bunch of money in a stimulus, and they're talking about doing another $1 trillion+ to stimulate the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, there are resources out there to at least help you out. Now, there may not be resources to make you a millionaire, and maybe they are, but at least there are resources to help you out, and you don't have to suffer. So again, when we talk about pain and suffering financially, you don't have to suffer. Now, there may be pain because you're not at the level that you want to be in. And of course, you can make your way there. You can get the resources to get there. But ladies and gentlemen, don't let that create suffering in your mind. Not only because resources are there, but financially, from a financial standpoint, you're living and you have another opportunity to take your life to the next level. So if you lost that job, don't worry about it. There are other jobs that you can get. If you lost that job, don't worry about it. Maybe unemployment is your situation for a short period of time, but that's just for right now. So keep in mind, even when you are in pain from a financial situation or an employment situation, it does not have to equate to suffering. So we talked about the physical suffering. We're talking about financial. Let's talk about those relationships. Oh my gosh, that's where a lot of suffering comes in because we have multiple relationships. You have best friends. You have homies, BFFs, all this stuff. You have all these people who play roles in your life. And the more you allow people in your life, like we all will do, the greater the risk of pain. But I say that, and I don't say it to tell you that you shouldn't let people in your life, because we need people. You have to have relationships. We are relational beings, which means we crave a connection. Matter of fact, not only do we crave it, we need it. There's a part of our soul that longs for relationships. So yes, you can't eliminate all the relationships, and that's not the way to reduce your suffering. But you reduce your suffering by setting up guardrails around your life so that you can control at least what you can control. I'll say that again. You will avoid or eliminate or at least lessen the suffering from relationships when you set up guardrails around your life so that you can control what you can control. What do guardrails do? Well, they keep you from going too far, left or right. And when you blast through a guardrail, hey, that is the end, right? You may go off. The same thing has to happen in your life. When people cross those guardrails, that has to be the ravine. That has to be the end. That has to be the guardrail that they've crossed that there's no coming back from. So the way that you minimize and eliminate suffering in your personal life and your personal relationships is by setting those guardrails around your life. In your personal relationship with your girlfriend or with your boyfriend or with your wife or your husband, there has to be guardrails. I mean, you want to love them unconditionally. Don't get me wrong. Because we need these relationships, we crave these relationships, but you have to set the guardrails so that you know what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. You have to set it up so that at the end of the day, you are protecting yourself. So Pain will come from the relationships because, hey, that's just natural and we're human and we make mistakes. But pain does not have to equate to suffering. And today I leave you that major tool, which is set the guardrails around your life. Now, the same doesn't apply to our next one, the first one that we mentioned, when there's a death or a loss or a serious depressive situation. What I would submit to you at that stage of the game is that suffering will come if you allow the pain to reside in your life. So the next tool for you and I is to eliminate the length of our pain. And that is easier said than done, but it's critical to you living the life that you need to live, being the best that you can be. So when there's a death or when there's a loss, okay, you're going to mourn, but you don't have to live with it for the rest of your life, because as human beings, guess what? You have the ability to control your mind and control your thoughts. So we have to limit the time that we are going to live in that suffering. So whether you're talking about the death of your favorite pet, your parent, someone that you love, remember, you have the ability through your mind, through your thoughts, through the people you talk to, the conversations that you have. If you call somebody and every single day they want to talk about, oh man, that person left you, or how you doing, how you going to survive, then leave that person alone. Don't have those conversations, because they won't feed you. In fact, they will cause you to stay in a state of pain, which creates, as we know, a higher level of suffering. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to make it real simple. Why? Because I care about you and I see too much destruction based on suffering. Because remember, pain does not have to equal suffering. All right. Like I mentioned to you, I don't hold you long in these podcasts. My workshops, all of them are quick and to the point, and I have a ton of them. If you haven't checked out my YouTube page, go there at Judge Dawson. Again, you can subscribe to my email list and get my dose of positivity every week. You can subscribe to this podcast. Or you know what? If you want to be selfish, you can just take this information into yourself and just end up turning into the best person that you can possibly be. Hey, I don't know all the answers, but I've experienced a lot, and I'm going to continue to give to you every single time I get the opportunity. So as you know, I'm not only a judge, I'm a yogi. So I'm going to use my yogi salutation and wish you well. And until I see you or talk to you or visit you again, namaste.